The first argument I will be addressing is animals are morally superior to humans, to which I will offer three counterpoints. First, let's quickly go over the concept of natural evil. Many people seem to have this idealized vision of nature where all animals live in harmony and love with each other. However, this isn't even remotely true. This quote paints a far more realistic picture of the natural world than videos of pets or unlikely animal friends.
Viewed from a distance, the natural world often presents a vista of sublime, majestic placidity. Yet beneath the foliage and hidden from the distant eye, a vast, unceasing slaughter rages. Wherever there is animal life, predators are stalking, chasing, capturing, killing, and devouring their prey. Agonized suffering and violent death are ubiquitous and continuous.
Furthermore, suffering is so prevalent and widespread in the animal kingdom that it is one of the main arguments against the existence of a benevolent God. Look further into things such as the problem of evil, specifically natural evil, and predation problem to see what I mean. Second, we need to compare the quality of life between humans and animals. Imagine you have two groups aboard a ship. Group A is dropped off on an island with only what the land provides. Group B is dropped off on an island with what the owner provides. Sometime later, Person X inspects both these islands. Group A is basically Lord of the Flies, while Group B is happy, empathetic, and pleasant to be around. Person X concludes, Group A is a bunch of evil and naturally violent savages. Group B are such pure and innocent angels. B is obviously morally superior to A. The flaw in the thinking should be obvious, and it happens every time someone proclaims animals are better than people. All these personal anecdotal examples or videos of pets or unlikely animal friends occurs near exclusively in human-created environments such as private residences, sanctuaries, farms, parks, zoos, etc. And in these entirely human-created circumstances, the animals are treated better than any other living thing in Earth's history. They are provided free food and water, medical treatment and shelter, given pats and cuddles, entertainment, enough sleep and opportunities for naps, and in return have to do as little as exist and not attack their beneficiaries. And there's even some leeway with the second condition. This is why comments like, "We don't deserve animals," or "We have so much to learn from the animals," are so irritating. Considering these interspecies relationships are entirely fostered by human effort, I'd say we are perfectly deserving of them, and it is they that have so much to learn from us. Then there's the issue of containment. I find it perplexing how people are so confident in the virtues of animals, such as intelligence, loyalty, kindness, etc., but they are so unwilling to test them. Most animals are instead always kept from food, except designated feeding times, contained within houses, which are also contained by fences, and on the occasion they are allowed outside their human confinement. It is only on the condition that they have a leash, harness, and/or muzzle. This is also why it's frustrating that so many people will quote and readily believe things that paint humanity in a bad light. However, the problem isn't so much that they look at humanity with this cynical attitude, but because they won't look at animals with the same level of cynicism. For humans, the rules, which we created by the way, are shackles that repress our true malevolent nature. For animals, the rules, which again we created, are opportunities that allow them to express their true benevolent nature. This YouTube comment, from an unlikely animal friend video, explains this whole situation in a more informed and eloquent way.
This video shows a completely artificial and unnatural situation, because both the pig and the dog are domestic animals that have been selectively bred by humans for thousands of years, for characteristics such as docility and friendliness. Any born without those characteristics were immediately culled. Needless to say, the two species do not get along with each other in the wild, and certainly do not meet up for cuddling sessions. That only regularly happens with pets or in artificial situations when wild animals have been brought together by humans. And like most other animals, these two have a high degree of conflict within their own species, whether over competition for territory, food, mates, or defense of the young, which can lead to horrible injuries or death. Humans are not selectively bred or domesticated, so we are wild animals too, which is why we can also be highly aggressive, unpredictable, and are well known for conflicts between individuals and groups within our own species, for all kinds of reasons.
Basically, to sum up, if an advanced alien species came down and provided all our food, shelter, medical treatment for free, allowed us to do nothing except sleep and play with entertainment they provided us with and think it's adorable, go out of their way to give us physical affection, removed all of our external stresses, housework, traffic, jobs, rent, mortgages, etc., and prevented or protected us from all forms of verbal harassment or physical violence. Then for all of this, asked nothing more of us than love and companionship, I see no reason to think we wouldn't be just as good as animals. Finally, we need to compare the cognitive capabilities of humans and animals. Again, let's imagine we have person A, who is given a computer, and person B, who is given a calculator. When person X checks in on them, he sees person A has used their device to write all manner of vile, disgusting, evil things, while person B has used their device to write boobies. Now imagine person X says, "See, I knew it." Person A is evil. Person B didn't do even a fraction of what they did. B is obviously morally superior to A. Again, hopefully the flaw in the thinking should be obvious. Humans are simply far more complex to anything they could be compared to, making any comparison meaningless. This is why being a fur parent will often produce an angel, while being a human parent often produce monsters, because every layer of complexity is another layer that can be messed up. That doesn't make animals superior, just far easier to get right. And praising animals for doing something they cannot do would be like praising humans for never using their eye lasers, pyromancy, or astral projection to commit evil acts. Again, if aliens came down and used some kind of evolution gun to evolve animals to our level of mental complexity, I see no reason to think they wouldn't be just as bad as humanity. The second argument I will be addressing is animals are good for your mental health and can sense who is a good person. Again, I can think of three counterpoints to this. The first is situational depression. Many people have hatred of modern society, and I believe one of the forms of coping is the previously mentioned idealized version of nature, where all animals live in peace, without any negative emotions or behaviors, and as such are the only ones these people can turn to for love, comfort, companionship, compassion, hope, etc. I'm sure there's another name for this, but I'm going to call it Garden of Eden syndrome. The belief that there was or is some kind of purity in the world that could potentially be reinstated. The second is social anxiety, or low self-esteem, that usually comes in the form of an inability to handle any criticism or judgment. Dog lovers freely and continuously admit that the main draw of owning a dog is unconditional love, and they never judge or criticize you. A good theory as to the psychology behind this comes from the YouTube channel I Hate Dogs, where he states,
Animals are such agreeable friends. They ask no questions, they pass no criticisms, because they can't. And the very fact they can't should cause you not to appreciate the fact they ask no questions or pass no criticisms. You should want to be around a living organism that can ask questions and can pass criticisms, but do not. That's the only time it has value. I believe self-consciousness, embarrassment, and fear of being judged is the primary cause of dog fanaticism. They have created numerous memes about how they appreciate the fact that their dog does not pass judgment on them. These are blatant admissions of attempts to treat their social anxiety disorders.
This perfectly encapsulates how judging animals as superior to humans in regard to unconditional love shares the exact same flawed logic as judging animals as superior to humans regarding morality. It confuses inability with virtue. They only love unconditionally because they have such a limited view of conditions, so turning to them for love, as opposed to humans, isn't solving the problem, it's hiding from it. It's not working on their faults, finding someone who loves them despite their faults, or who doesn't see them as faults. This is why I think many people will so readily accept the dogs can sense a good person idea, because it completely circumvents the problem illustrated. The dog being unaware of so many pieces of the person puzzle is irrelevant, as those pieces have no bearing on whether they are a good person or worthy of love. The third is narcissism and psychopathy. Sources such as news stories, personal accounts, or dog-free subreddits will provide us with endless examples of dog lovers who act in all sorts of stupid, inconsiderate, entitled, rude, aggressive, or generally anti-social ways towards strangers, neighbours, co-workers, friends and family in personal, public, and professional spaces. But even without these endless examples, it would still be clear how a dog-owning relationship would appeal to many of the most undesirable members of society, as it is something that is completely dependent on them for their survival, that can be trained to obey their every command, that they can use to startle, annoy, disturb, intimidate, terrorize, or attack people by proxy, and that will shower them with endless supplies of adoration and attention in exchange for the bare minimum. Originally, the title of this video was going to be "I'm Sick of Misanthropy" and was going to include a bit more about human cooperation. However, I came to realize I don't really have a problem with misanthropy if it is based on standards derived from evidence, reason, empathy, or they think the bad of humans outweighs the good. However, as I illustrated with my Group A and B analogies, it becomes problematic and hateful when these standards are based on animals, because they are ignoring the obvious reasons for humans' negative characteristics. If we lived in some kind of Star Wars or Star Trek scenario where there were dozens of species with similar enough cognitive capabilities, then we could fairly weigh our virtues and vices against others. But as it stands, there aren't, so we can't. We are nature in its most advanced form. We are the universe made manifest, trying to figure itself out. For better or worse, humanity is currently the best that reality has to offer. It's time we all realized and dealt with that fact. This has been Mr. ChestHighWalls. Thank you for watching.